Hey, welcome to the first bonus module of the Infusionsoft 101 course. In the previous videos, we talked about some of the advice that the practitioners that we interviewed had for you as you are starting with Infusionsoft. Some of those were just general best practices. Some of it was more mindset stuff for how to think about where Infusionsoft will fit in your business. And some of it was advice that they learned the hard way and wish that they had known previously. But in this video, I want to give you a little bit more of a practical approach to starting with Infusionsoft, and specifically to using the campaign builder. So I'm not going to go into the in-depth nuance or intricacies of how the campaign builder works. I do have a course, the CB Trilogy, that covers that. So if you specifically want help understanding and using the campaign builder in your business, that's where I will recommend that you go. But what I want to cover here are three campaigns that I believe every Infusionsoft user on the planet should have. So if you are, starting with Infusionsoft and you have heard of the campaign builder and you're like, yeah, that's this, powerful feature that I want to start using, but where do I begin? I would recommend starting with these three campaigns. So the first is a fulfillment campaign. So if you think about your point of purchase, no matter what business model or you have or what industry you're in, you are probably selling something. That's how you stay in business. And whether it's a product or a service or a membership or a digital product or a course, right? Regardless, there is a point of purchase. Now, to build an Infusionsoft campaign, you would start with a goal that represents that purchase. Now, if you are processing orders through Infusionsoft, then this would likely be a purchase goal. But if you're processing orders through a third-party shopping cart or system and just passing the order details back to Infusionsoft, then the trigger point for this particular campaign might be a tag or a stage move if it's an offline process, or an API goal if it is a direct integration. So regardless, there will be a goal that represents the purchase having taken place. And then after the goal, you'll have a sequence. And that sequence is where you will build any actions that need to automatically happen in order to fulfill on that purchase, right? And the reason I start with this campaign is because I feel like this is where a lot of businesses have the most opportunity, is to clean up and streamline their fulfillment process to make sure that it is happening in a way that you designed, in a way that you intended, and is producing consistently positive customer experiences. The reason that is so important is because, of course, if you are sending traffic to a sales page or people are checking out, and then you're creating an inconsistent or underwhelming experience on the delivery part of their journey, then you're going to wind up with dissatisfied customers. You're going to have a rash of refunds, and you're going to have generally people out there who are detractors rather than advocates. So by designing and using automation to support and enhance the experience that happens after somebody becomes a customer, what you wind up doing is better optimizing the money you spend on the front end of your funnel, because you know the experience you're driving them toward is systemized and is positive. And then also you're creating a positive experience that generally leads to referrals and word of mouth advertising, which is, of course, something that we all want. So in that sequence after the purchase goal, what you put in there is going to be unique to your business and what you're selling. But for me, like for any of my virtual courses, the first thing that happens is there is an HTTP post that communicates with my membership site to create their login credentials, and then it sends them an email with their access instructions so that they can get started right away. You might have, at the very least, a very simple thank you email that goes out just saying, hey, thanks for being a customer. Here's what you can expect next. If it's a mentorship program or some sort of coaching, maybe you need to get them on your calendar, and you could send them a scheduling link that encourages them to pick their first spot for whatever your program is there. If it is a physical product that needs to be delivered on, you might send a fulfillment list to the person or the company responsible for delivering on that. And any number of, variables or permutations might affect this specific area. So I can't tell you exactly what needs to happen there, but think about your current fulfillment process. Think about the things that need to take place when somebody becomes a customer, and which of those can and should be automated. right? And I underscore can and I underscore should because not everything can be automated. And of the things that can be, not everything should be automated. So the key here is to use automation for the things for which it is most impactful and appropriate, right? There may be points in your fulfillment process where automation isn't a good fit, where, you know, doing something manually actually is an advantage, or it benefits you, or maybe it's just necessary. And so the key is using automation in and around those points so that the human effort is minimized and more targeted. So you can use automation in those instances both to lead up to and come out after that manual point of intervention, or you can use automation to hold humans accountable to make sure that those things get done. Here's an example. So in my post-purchase process, I send a thank you card to anyone who buys something from MonkeyPod. Now, I actually do write those cards by hand. I put a stamp on them and I write the address, you know, myself. But I could automate those. I choose to write them because I like the connection it creates for me between, you know, the customer who just bought and myself. I like thinking about, you know, as I write their address, where they are in the world, and it gives me a moment to just feel appreciation for that purchase, right? Now, if my business grows to a point where I'm doing, you know, dozens of these a day, it would not scale and I would need to find a different solution for that. But for the time being, I've decided that that needs to happen or can happen manually. And so rather than using automation there, I create a task for myself to go do that thing, right? So I guess the point I want to make is that regardless of what your fulfillment journey looks like, there's a good chance that automation could be used not necessarily to do everything, but to make sure that everything gets done. Okay, so the second campaign that I recommend every Infusionsoft user on the planet have is a lead capture campaign. So you probably are familiar with this lead capture or an opt-in campaign or a lead magnet campaign. This is where you exchange something of value in order to get information about the contact. So you might offer an ebook or a free quote or a free consultation or an MP3 download or a free trial of your course, right? Or any other number of things. And in exchange for that thing, the customer or the contact is giving you their information. Normally it's their first name and their email, or maybe their phone number, right? So some sort of exchange of information for value. And the key for this recipe to be successful is that the thing you give them needs to actually be valuable, right? So when you think about designing this, a lot of marketers are like, well, what can I give away to get their information? And they just come up with something as a transactional equation to say, all right, here's the exchange. But what you are forgetting is that this is actually your audition. And so what you want is the thing that you're giving away to be way more valuable than the information you are asking for, because this is the start of your relationship. And so setting a proper tone for what they can expect from you is really critically important at this juncture, because everything else you do is built on that initial exchange and the trust that you earn in that moment. So I think of it as sort of like a trust repository, right? If you have a bank account balance, when you give them something, when you do the thing you said you're going to do, if I say, hey, this MP3 is going to be really valuable, they download it and it is, well, my trust repository balance goes up. And if you continue to do the things you say you're going to do, if you continue to deliver on and exceed those expectations, the trust account continues to rise. And then when you need to ask something of them, when you need to make a request of them, or, you know, encourage them to sign up for a webinar or to make an actual purchase, right? You are taking a withdrawal from that trust account. And if there's nothing in there, then when you make that request, obviously they're going to say, yeah, you don't have any funds to spend, you know, I'm not signing up for your thing, or I'm not buying your widget, right? So the key here is at each interaction to make sure that you are giving them more than you are asking from them, so that you continue to build that trust. Now, the lead capture campaign functionally will look like an opt-in goal. That is either a landing page or a web form goal. The distinction being a landing page is a standalone page with a singular purpose that you are sending traffic to, and a web form is more of an opt-in box that is embedded normally on your website, and they can just sign up wherever they happen to be. So you send traffic to a landing page, and your website or a web form actually goes in your website where traffic may already be. So that's the distinction there. But regardless of which opt-in method you choose, Afterward, you would then have a sequence that fulfills on whatever the expectation is that you set at that point of opt-in. So if you promise them an ebook, the first email in that sequence after the landing page would be the ebook. And then you might have a series of touch points following up with them, asking for feedback, answering common questions about the resource or the freebie that you just gave them. Or maybe it's, instructions for what they should do next, right? Guiding them towards, hey, if you thought that was valuable, if this free consultation was a good use of your time, or if this, free trial of the course was interesting and engaging, then here is what you should do next. For people like you who found that valuable, we recommend unlocking the rest of the course, or, joining our coaching program, or whatever the thing is that you want them to do next. And it might be go buy, right? It might be the next logical step is to go become a customer, but it doesn't have to be. If you sell a exceptionally high ticket item, maybe the runway before you ask them to become a customer needs to be a little bit longer. Maybe there's a little bit more of a conversation that needs to happen, or some more relationship building that needs to go on before you have enough trust to make that request of them. So the delivery of that free resource is usually in the sequence right afterward. And then, of course, if they buy, or if they take the next step or action that you want them to take, you want to make sure that there is a goal at the end of that campaign that stops the previous sequence. So if you're asking them to do something, of course, when they do that thing, we want to make sure that the automated requests stop. The third campaign that I recommend every Infusionsoft user on the planet have is a nurture or follow-up campaign. When we talk about marketing or talk about online or digital funnels, one common phrase or refrain you'll hear is that I have leads slipping between the cracks, right? And this campaign is designed specifically to stop or to solve that problem, right? It serves as a catch-all for leads who would have slipped between the cracks. So here's the way that it works. When a customer signs up for something, right, the goal, of course, is that we hope that they go right to becoming a customer, right? So we'd love for them to opt in, get the free trial of the course, and then immediately go sign up for the course and then enter the fulfillment campaign that we talked about, right? But not everybody who signs up will be ready to become a customer that same day, or even, that same week, or in the timeline that we would like. Some people will simply need more time to do their homework or to make a decision, or maybe, there's, a seasonal reason that they're waiting. It doesn't really matter, but some people will need more time. And so the idea behind a nurture or follow-up campaign is to have something that stays in touch with them, something that keeps positioning you as an authority, that keeps building trust, that keeps delivering value for them. Something that anticipates their needs, gives them case studies or showcases additional use cases for whatever it is that you offer, and talks about the types of results it can create. So that campaign looks like this. It begins with a tag. Okay, so a tag goal like add to nurture, right, or nurture trigger. And then you have a singular sequence that contains, a number of touch points spread out over a period of time. Maybe to start, it's, one email every other month, right? But it could be as many touch points as you like, for as long as you like. The key is that it stays in touch with them, and that it continues to, build the relationship that you have begun with them, and that it is driving toward and stopped by whatever that ultimate call to action would be. So if it is, join my membership program, you want to make sure that at the end of that sequence, when they join the membership program, or if there are any point in that sequence, as soon as they decide to take that call to action, it also stops the automation in between. Now, if we jump back to that lead capture campaign, which was an opt-in goal, a sequence that delivers on the opt-in, and then a purchase, what you want to do here is right at the very end of that sequence, you want to add a timer. And if they do not take the call to action, if they do not become a customer or do whatever it was that you wanted them to do, that is where you add the trigger tag that transfers them to the nurture campaign. So if you picture these three campaigns in sort of a timeline or progression, it would begin with the opt-in campaign, and then ideally at the end, they would jump straight to the purchase campaign and the fulfillment campaign. But if they do not, we have this contingency plan in between them, which is the nurture and follow-up campaign And all three of these have started off with relatively simple campaign structures, but depending on your business needs and the various number of products or services that you offer, or the number of opt-ins that you have, right? Any of these campaigns could be easily duplicated and repurposed, but this is the general goal, because what happens is when you string these three campaigns together, you span nearly the entire customer journey. And that is, in a nutshell, in my opinion, the best way to describe what Infusionsoft is built for. It is designing automation that supports and enhances the customer journey we are creating. So that is it for this video, guys. Those are the three campaigns that I believe every Infusionsoft user on the planet should have. Of course, I've just touched on them at a high level or at a theoretical level here. But I encourage you to take a swing at building them yourself, to explore the campaign builder. And of course, if you want help with that, then start with the free trial of my CB Trilogy course. That's it. I'll see you in the next module.